Second Timothy might be the last letter that Paul wrote. It's the second letter he's writing to Timothy, who's a pastor at the church in Ephesus, and Paul is still imprisoned in Rome. And it's written about 65 years after Christ's birth. So that puts Paul in his 50s, or maybe even approaching 60. And he says in this book that the time of my departure is at hand. So he's dying. He knows it. And winter is about to come, and he don't think he's going to survive it. But he encourages Timothy with a great verse that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but the spirit of power, the spirit of love, and the spirit of a sound mind. Isn't that a great verse? He says to Timothy that you have carefully followed my doctrine and my manner of life, and you know what has happened to me and how I've been persecuted. But I want to let you know that out of them all, the Lord delivered me. And he says, all that desire to live godly will be persecuted for Christ's sake. But he says, lean on Scripture. All Scripture is given by inspiration, godly inspiration, for doctrine, reproof, correction, instruction, righteousness, for man of God to be complete and equipped to do good works. And good works is what he also wrote about in 1 Timothy, that's what we all should focus on. He says, preach the word and be ready in season and out of season. And he says, the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, like they will not listen to it, but they will be turned aside to fables. And I wonder if that's kind of where we are today, because we have churches everywhere in America, so many people preaching the gospel, but people are like, they're not hearing it. Like it doesn't take, like people are like, oh, it's just another way. It's just another story. But he says, but don't ever feel ashamed of Jesus or the people that are persecuted at church. Hang in there. Even though in the last days, people will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, proud, blasphemers, disobedient, entitled, unbelievers, unloving, unforgiving, and brutal. But he says that the time of my departure is at hand, and I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race, and I've kept the faith. Finally, there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord our judge will give to me on that day. So even though in this little book of 4 chapters, he talks about how the Lord has always been there through it all and through when he was persecuted and even now, and always been with him, and he's there waiting for him on the other side with the crown of righteousness. But even so, knowing that he's about to die, he pleads some heavy words from a place of loneliness. He says, please come. Everybody has forsaken me and left. Only Luke is here. Please do your utmost to come before winter, and please bring my coat or my cloak. So it just shows that even maybe the most strongest Christian that ever lived, when it came down to a need, isn't that when we can feel the most lonely, when we're in the hospital or in the prison or dying? So let's not forget each other, even though we have Christ and he's always there. We're created to need each other, and just remember your neighbor, your friends, and remember your leaders also. They can all get in the lonely times and lonely moments.